Have you ever sensed that the nicer you are, the less regard people show you? That the more you strive to satisfy others, the more they overlook, test, or exploit you? Perhaps you can't articulate it, but you feel it physically, in the tension of holding back a response, in the discomfort of realizing your voice goes unheard, in the frustration of seeing manipulative, cold, and even cruel individuals gain respect while you, seeking only peace, are constantly overlooked. But what if I told you this isn't coincidental? There's a logic behind it, a dark, uncomfortable, yet true logic. Machiavelli wrote over 500 years ago that it's better to be feared than loved when you can't be both. Though harsh, this reflects our world, which responds more to fear than kindness. Not because people are inherently evil, but because the human mind respects boundaries, not promises. It admires strength, not submission. We're not advocating for tyranny, manipulation, or narcissism. We're discussing something deeper, understanding that goodness alone isn't enough. Kindness without commanding respect is like bleeding in the ocean. Sooner or later, sharks will sense it. Maybe you're, at that point now, tired of being ignored, giving too much, feeling always in the background. Perhaps you're wondering, how can I gain respect without becoming someone I despise? How can I show strength without losing my essence? This video is for you. Here, we'll dispel the illusion that kindness alone suffices. We'll explore psychological insights on fear, respect, and authority. With Machiavelli's help, we'll discover how to transform your presence into something others can't ignore. In reality, those who don't set boundaries are pushed aside. If you're ready to reflect and understand why you're treated this way, keep watching. What follows may forever change how you position yourself. People don't respect kindness alone. They respect what it represents when paired with strength. The mistake is thinking goodness is enough, as if treating others well. Being kind, avoiding conflicts, and sacrificing will automatically earn you value. But the human brain doesn't work that way. Respect doesn't come from intention, it comes from perceived authority. Authority is built with posture, firmness, and a degree of fear. Psychology shows that humans react to fear with attention. When someone sets clear boundaries, speaks with conviction, and withdraws from abusive situations, the message is clear. Not with me. Others understand this as a barrier, a territory to approach with caution. Now, consider the opposite. Those who say yes when they mean no, who over-explain, smile to avoid conflict, and stay silent to keep the peace. To observers, these individuals don't convey security. They convey permission. Where there's too much permission, abuse arises. Fear and respect are linked by an invisible yet powerful thread. It's not about threatening or acting aggressively. That's disguised weakness. True psychological strength lies in self-control, firm silence, and a gaze that needs no justification, the simple act of saying no without hesitation. Machiavelli wasn't suggesting rulers be cruel for pleasure. He warned of a human truth. People quickly forget favors but never forget who makes them think twice. This applies not just to leaders, but to you, in your work, friendships, and relationships. Those who don't understand this spend their lives seeking approval but are never taken seriously. Perhaps you're now wondering, does this mean being good is wrong? No, but there's a dilemma we'll explore next. The dilemma of kindness. How to know when your kindness has turned into weakness, and what to do when you realize you're being exploited for trying to be fair. Get ready to face the mirror. The truth will hurt, but it will also set you free. If this resonates, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Maybe no one ever taught you this. Maybe you grew up hearing that being good was enough, that empathy and help would be returned. But reality is different. In the real world, kindness without discernment becomes bait. Predators exist and sniff out vulnerability like dogs smell fear. There's a brutal, silent, and cruel dilemma. The more you try to be good, the more vulnerable you become. This corrodes your self-worth, making you wonder if the problem is you. Are you being too nice? But if you stop, will you betray yourself? Many get stuck here, believing that toughening up means corrupting oneself. But here's the truth. There's no true kindness without strength. Kindness that can't protect itself, set boundaries, or recognize exploitation isn't virtue. It's naivety, a psychological trap keeping good people as emotional servants. This trap is called validation dependency. You get used to being the nice one, the one who gives in, listens, understands, and forgives, even when undeserved. You confuse being peaceful with being passive, slowly getting swallowed by unbalanced relationships where only you give, donate, and care. Psychology calls this self-abandonment. You lose others' respect, but worse, you lose self-respect. You need to understand that being good isn't being weak, but being good without wisdom is the fastest path to pain. Machiavelli knew this. He didn't want you to become cruel. He wanted you to understand human nature. Human nature respects those who can defend themselves. The question now is how to do this without crossing the line. How to inspire respect, even fear, without becoming what you despise. This is what we'll explore next. Who Machiavelli was, and why he might be the mentor you need to learn to protect yourself without losing yourself. Niccolo Machiavelli was a keen observer of human nature, living amid political betrayals, civil wars, corrupt courts, and false allies. He saw what many still refuse to see. Power isn't held by the righteous but by the clear-sighted. From this clarity, his famous work, The Prince, was born. Hated by some, revered by others, but ignored only by fools. Machiavelli wasn't a monster. He was a radical realist. While others wrote about how rulers should be, he wrote about how they actually are. He understood that in a world governed by interests, naive idealism invites failure. Those who wish to govern, whether a state or their own life, need to understand the game behind the game. When he says it's safer to be feared than loved, he's not promoting gratuitous cruelty. He's saying that others' love is unstable, conditional, and fragile. People love you when you benefit them, but that love vanishes at the first sign of conflict or disagreement. Fear, when used wisely, creates boundaries. It establishes a margin of respect, preventing abuse, manipulation, and disloyalty. Machiavelli saw fear not as a weapon of destruction, but as a wall of protection. A leader or individual who doesn't inspire any fear will eventually be betrayed. Without fear, there's no caution, and without caution, humans reveal their worst selves. He also warned about balance. Fear must be measured. A ruler who is only feared but hated creates fertile ground for revolts. True power lies in being respected, built with firmness, strategy, and self-control. Machiavelli advocated for surgical coldness, not unchecked brutality. A leader swayed by hatred loses control, but one who commands through fear wisely keeps everyone alert, and no one dares to underestimate them. Now, reflect. Are you governing your own existence or letting others dictate the rules? Have you set boundaries, or are you tested until you lose patience? The answer lies in how you assert yourself. This is what we'll discuss next. How to be feared without being hated, building personal authority so strong that people think twice before disrespecting you, not through shouting, but through a presence that commands silence. In the next section, we'll delve into the true art of authority. Stay tuned. This is where everything begins to change. There's a vast difference between being feared and being hated. If you can't walk this fine line, you risk falling into extremes that destroy any power relationship. Passivity that invites abuse or tyranny that generates revolt. True authority lies in balance, an art few master. Being feared doesn't mean being aggressive, violent, shouting, humiliating, or controlling through constant fear. That's not respect, it's terror, which always has an expiration date. Sooner or later, it turns against those who impose it. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that a ruler must avoid being hated at all costs because hatred is a silent poison. People can endure fear, but not humiliation for long. The secret lies in being respected enough that people don't dare cross your boundaries but fair, enough that they don't wish to bring you down. This means acting with clarity, posture, and coherence, making people understand without explanation that there's a price for disrespect, that your words carry weight, and that your presence isn't taken for granted. This isn't built overnight. It starts with small gestures, saying no firmly, stepping away from toxic conversations without justifying yourself, not repeating explanations to those who test your limits. It's about claiming your emotional space and making it clear through actions that you won't be shaped by others' will. Psychology proves it. People who exercise authority silently, without direct confrontation, generate more respect in the long run. It's the so-called latent power, present even when not exercised, making others think twice before acting, not because you intimidate them, but because they know you don't tolerate disrespect. That's the key to being feared without being hated, showing that you're in control not of others, but of yourself. Those who master their emotions, reactions, and limits with serenity and firmness command more respect than any shout or threat. But what if that's not enough? What if, even while asserting yourself, you still feel tested, used, or ignored? This is where we enter the most sensitive territory, the internal space where patterns of submission, fear of confrontation, and difficulty in setting real boundaries are born. In the next part, we'll dive deeper, exploring how your mind and emotional history may prevent you from being respected and, more importantly, how to break this cycle and start building a new identity, stronger, clearer, and unshakable. If this resonates, you'll find real value in my ebook, Beyond the Shadow. It breaks down Jung's core ideas and gives you tools to understand yourself more deeply. The link is in the pinned comment. Now that you understand the importance of being respected, firm, and inspiring the right amount of fear, it's time to look within. It's not enough to comprehend this intellectually. If deep down you still fear bothering others, disappointing them, or being rejected for asserting yourself, the root of the problem lies within you. That's where true transformation resides. Many carry childhood conditioning to please to survive. People taught that they would only be loved if they were nice, that saying no was selfish, that contradicting was impolite, and that disagreeing meant emotional punishment. The result? Adults who bend over backward to please, silence themselves to keep the peace, and accept less than they deserve because they think setting boundaries means losing love. This is psychological poison, an unconscious script turning you into an emotional slave. The worst part? The more you repeat this pattern, the more entrenched it becomes. Every yes when you want to say no sends the world the message that your will doesn't matter. Each avoided conflict allows injustice to grow. Every person you forgive without remorse validates the abuse. What needs to be clear is that respect starts within you. There's no external authority without internal firmness. You won't inspire respect if you don't respect yourself. You won't set boundaries if you don't believe you deserve protection. No one will take you seriously if you constantly doubt your worth. Building this new identity begins with small decisions, starting to observe where you silence yourself out. Of fear, in what situations you diminish yourself to fit in, with whom you feel obligated to be someone you're not. One by one, these situations need to be dismantled, not with anger, but with strategy, presence, and truth. You'll notice that as you start asserting yourself, some people will be bothered. They'll call you rude, cold, arrogant. But this isn't about you. It's about them not knowing how to control you anymore. Every change in posture destabilizes those who fed off your passivity. Yes, you'll lose people along the way, but it's liberating to lose those who only knew how to exploit you. When you align with your internal truth, the external world responds. People who once ignored you start to listen. Relationships that once drained you either dissolve or transform. You stop begging for love and start attracting respect because you're no longer overly accessible. What isn't easy to have always generates more value. But even with all this, there's still a missing piece, something tying together everything we've discussed. You've understood the psychology, philosophy, and behavior, but you still need to answer the final question: how to balance this new strength without becoming what you detest, how to maintain lucidity, respect, and integrity while commanding with firmness. That's what we'll explore now. There comes a time when you need to make a decision. Either keep trying to please the world, hoping people will finally see your worth, or stop begging for emotional crumbs and start behaving like someone who deserves respect. The truth is simple, but brutal. No one will give you what you don't demand for yourself. You don't need to become cold or a tyrant, but you need to learn to stand up for yourself. Raise boundaries like invisible walls. Look into the eyes of those who try to manipulate you and maintain the firm silence that says, "Not with me, not anymore." That's true strength, the kind that doesn't need to shout, doesn't show off, but is felt in the air, in your posture, in your gaze. This strength begins the moment you stop trying to be loved and start demanding to be respected. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He saw that people's love is fickle, conditional, full of hidden interests. But respect, when well built, lasts. It sustains itself. It protects, and that's what you need to seek. Not others' acceptance, but your own inner sovereignty. From the moment you understand that being good isn't enough, that your kindness needs a sword and shield, everything changes. You don't become bitter, you become whole. Someone who gives because they want to, not because they're afraid of losing. Who loves deeply but doesn't accept being used. Who forgives but doesn't forget. Who knows how to withdraw at the exact moment and is never underestimated again. Now, I want to know from you. In what area of your life do you feel you need to start asserting yourself? Work, family, relationships? Write in the comments. Your answer can create space for others to reflect as well. Change begins when we acknowledge where we're being weak. If this message resonated with you, if any part of this video hit you like a punch, you need to keep going. The next video is just as important. Don't skip it. Don't put it off. Understanding the psychology of respect is just the beginning. The journey is only starting.